the Archbishop Michael Neary and Mother Elvira was here, the foundress of the community, on the 8th of December, the year 2000 and 1999. And ever since the house has been opened, and it's here today. There's how many lads here now? 12 lads in the house at the moment. And it was a group of friends who saw the house in Medjugorje and saw I suppose you can say the light in the lads' eyes, in those who have come through a struggle of addiction in that house, and really wanted to open a similar house in Ireland. So thank God, through a lot of effort and grace, the house is open today. So two of the lads have agreed to do testimonies. It's the kind of the practice of community that it's kind of sprung on them at the last minute, So, but it's their story, and um, so the first testimony this evening is going to be given by Roman. So he's going to swap into my chair now to begin.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Roman. I'm from Slovakia, and I'm in community Cenacolo 3 years. I entered in community Cenacolo because, when I was young, I had always a lot of problems with myself, with my behavior, but especially I had a drug addiction, and my parents, and not only my parents, but I didn't really know what I have to do, what I want to do in my life, and it started everything when I was young boy, because I come from Christian family, my father was strong Catholic, and he was always praying, and my grandparents, they were always praying, I had like kind of relationship with prayer, I did some prayer, but when I was at school, about Slovakia or maybe Czechoslovakia, that was a communist country, and there is still sometimes we have troubles for faith, there is still kind of you can feel it, it's a free, but it's like, people sometimes at school or in work, they are kind of like judging you or bullying you, for your faith and for that kind of stuff, and I started to suffer with this, and I tried to put in practice what my parents told me, when I was young, about prayer, to respect another people, to be a good man, but I just didn't manage because I was at school and I wanted to be like my classmates, I just wanted to show them, I'm not that fragile boy, I'm not just going pray to the church, and listening exactly what the parents telling me, and I just started my rebellion, I started to hate Holy Church, I started to hate my father, and I started to do stupid things, I started to take drugs, when I was only young, my first contact with drugs was maybe when I was 12, 13 years old, and I was doing drugs until 21, and that wasn't easy way, at the start. It was kind of, like fun or escape, of reality, of what I had to face up, and that was going with me, after I was 17 years old and I had an overdose, and I was really in big troubles, I finished in psychiatric hospital. I was there for something around 40 days, and after this, I was a little bit afraid, I said to myself, okay, I have to change something, I would like to try restart my life, but I wasn't successful, because I was able to be without drugs maybe for 4 or 5 months, and after I relapsed straight away and in very, very bad way, and I was studying, okay, school wasn't problem for me, work wasn't problem for me, but the problem was my drug addiction and my bad habits that I had, and I was all my life kind of I was never able to do truth with myself, to accept myself with way how I am, who are my parents, and what is my past, what is the story of my family, I was just escaping in drug addiction, but I was lying myself, everything is all right, because I had a girlfriend, I had to work, I was successful at school, and everything looks all right, after I received the possibility when I was 18 years old to go work in Greece, for 4 months, and I went there, I took this possibility because I wanted to show my friends and my parents I don't need I don't need their advices, I don't need a God, I don't need to pray, it's okay. I'm doing only a little bit of drugs and I'm not going to the church, but it's all right, I have a work. Look, I received the possibility to work on a very, very good place, I'm only young and that was very very not mistake. I'm not feel sorry that I went, because that was nice experience. But from another side, I was only 18. I was there 4 months on my own, and there wasn't people. They were nobody who will tell me like, Roman, don't do this, don't take drugs, don't drink, just and I just the roller coaster of my darkness, just started in full way, and after I came home, I had the money. I didn't want to listen nobody, and I was just living like rock star, like just drugs and everything around, like selling problems, and I was kind of stealing and everything, like normal addict are doing, and that was, maybe until 19, I was doing all this stuff after I received the second possibility going Greece in the second place, to work, and after I just came back home and I just, I just realized, when I came second time that I'm addict, because I wasn't able to go anymore at school, without the drugs, without my daily drugs, like that was I was in very very bad condition. I lost all my money because I started to play uh, hazard games, like slot machines and all this kind of stuff, and after I started to stealing money of my parents, of my brother, and of my grandparents, I stole everything, gold, and I was taking the stuff from house, and I was using all this stuff for drugs, I started to sell drugs. I get contact with very bad people, and I did very, very big mess in my family, and I said, I stole a lot of money of my brother, he was afraid always of me, I have a younger brother and I never really had interest about him, now okay, now it's getting better, but for example, I don't know what is his favorite color. I didn't know what is his favorite color, I didn't know if he had some girlfriend. I didn't know what kind of music he is listening, because I just didn't care about him, I was selfish. I was thinking only about myself, and after when I was 20 years old, I finished school. I don't know how was it possible, that was miracle. And after I just had to leave my house because my parent, they didn't manage my behavior anymore, and I finished on the streets only with my backpack, maybe with 50 euro in the pocket, and I was living in this way, 6 or 7 months. There was a lot of moments when I didn't have place, where to go sleep. I was just sleeping on the bench, in the park, or I was living with my friends, 1 week here, 3 days here, after I find flat, with two another addicts, and we were just stealing the things, from the shops, and after selling them and selling the drugs and all this kind of stuff, and the one day I get caught by police, that was, they didn't find nothing, but that was very, very hard moment and embarrassed moment for me, and after this, I just jumped from the window, and I nearly broke my legs, and all kinds of stuff like this. I just realized that I need help, and I don't know how or why I did it. I just came back to home, and I just asked my parents, please, I need help. That wasn't easy for me to ask help, because I never listened to them, when I was at the street, and I'm from small town, with only 45,000 of people, when I met them or something, I try to go around, go away, I wasn't able to look in their face anymore, I didn't feel like their son even when I came back to home, to ask them for help. I was at home, but I didn't feel like at home. You know what I mean? It was strange, because I was so hard. I had the big wounds. I have them now, in the moment, and that was the point, when I decided, okay, I have to do something with my life, because I was 20 years old. I didn't have money. I didn't have girlfriend anymore. I didn't have future. I was empty, I was without life, without spirit, nothing. I was walking dead, a young man without future, without some perspective for life, like zero, nothing. And after I just started with detoxifications, and with meetings in Slovakia, because we have community Cenacolo there as well. And slowly, slowly, with big help of my father, I entered in community Cenacolo, and I entered in Austria because we have one house there. It was very hard for me, but straight away when I came there, I felt like in good place, because I came there. Okay, that was I can't speak German, Before when I entered in community, I didn't have Italian, I didn't speak English, no way, German language, nothing. I know just thank you, and that was it. I just came there, but was that was hard, but I felt straight away this kind of goodness, of these people because okay, first week I didn't really care, I was in the chapel, but I didn't pray, I was just thinking what's going on here, like, there is everybody out of head, what are they doing, what's the point, to go and, but after I just, all these lads, they were, kind to me, they were asking me, how are you feel, what is your name, and how are you today, what's your hobbies, and just simple chats, and they were praying in the chapel for me, we would like to pray for Roman for his walk, and I one day I just asked me why are they doing it, and they were every day with the smile, and I just didn't understand, and I said to myself, I want to do this, I would like to change my life, I would like to be like they are now, and I just started, I had a guardian angel from Poland, and he was very good man. He helped me a lot, he helped me to clean the relationship with my father, because I didn't have really relationship with my father, My father was for me always like some dictator, who is telling me what I have to do and what I don't have to do, and I don't know what to say anymore, After 1 year of community, for example, my mother is from family her family doesn't really pray, never, they didn't believe in God so much because they were like kind of communists, and in 20 years of my life, I never saw my mother pray rosary or go for Holy Mass or for confession, not even take Holy Communion, and after 1 year when she came visit me with my father, my mother went for Holy Communion, and she was praying, she was holding my hand, and she was praying rosary with me, and I just realized that's miracle, because I never believed that's gonna happen, and it was something unbelievable for me, and I had a big, how can I say, healing process with my father, because on the first meetings, yes, we were talking, but it was like always with distance, and after 1.5 year in community, my father just came to me and he apologized to me, for every moment when he wasn't father for me, and I apologized to him, I said sorry for all those money that I stole, and I said sorry for every time when I was hating him, when I wasn't good, when I was how can I say in English, when I was, I didn't do good name for my family, in our time, in our town, because I was always the lad the people were pointing with finger, look at this addict, look the people, all these gypsies and everybody who is hanging around with him, and that was beautiful moment for me because first time in my life I was able really to came to my father and to my mother and to say sorry, and with my brother as well, now we are getting better, we are talking more, I can feel still a little bit of distance amongst us, but it's getting better, really better, and I don't know how can I explain, everything what I was living in community, but community is really, really grand thing for me, so look at me now, 3 years ago I wasn't able to speak well my own language, and now I can do testimony in English, and this is big miracle for me. My mother, conversion of my mother, and cleaning of relationship with my father, and with my brother. This is something unbelievable for me, because I never thought I will live with my family one day in peace, and now I feel free when my family came visit me, or if I go at home, for a few days or for a few weeks, I can be free with them, I can say really what I feel inside, I can ask their advice, and it's unbelievable, I don't know what to say anymore, and now I'm 1 year in Ireland, and it's, I feel very well here, at the start it was hard for me, because I had a language barrier, I wasn't able to speak, English, but it's miracle for me because the lads, they took care about me, I came here, I didn't know nothing, nobody, and they just welcomed me like in their own family, At the start, okay, I maybe felt a little bit like on my own, but today I can say, I'm very happy for this place here in Ireland because I met wonderful people, There is Father Declan helping always, we have a Father Adrian. When I was in England, to visit house in England, I met another wonderful priest, Father Michael, I find myself with him very well. I had a beautiful chat with him, just big spiritual providence, here in community. It's unbelievable what's going on in my life, I find my faith, one more time, I can feel presence of Jesus in my life, I can speak with people from another countries, I had possibility to learn Italian as well in community. It's unbelievable, and especially here in Ireland, when I came, I'm living one big miracle here in community because when I came, that was time we were only 5 people in the house, It was coronavirus, COVID, was lockdown, everybody scared, and now we are always 12, 14, 15, 10, the people are still coming, and I have possibility to do guardian angel for them, in the same way that my guardian angel did for me, and this is big motivation for me, to be here for someone another because someone another before me, he sacrificed himself, and after that was useful, he had possibility to help someone another, to change life, and I don't know, it's unbelievable. I don't know, I can stay here and talk about my life and about life in community until tomorrow, and that won't be enough, and yes, this is from my part. I think everything is, yes, it's one thing that came to my mind now, a very nice thing for me in community was when I was in community 1 year, and in Austria, entered one lad from Slovakia, and they told me, Roman, you will be guardian angel for that fella, and I just said, oh, good luck, because he was 37 years old, he had a problem with addiction, and all life he was working, but I did guardian angel for him, and we did beautiful friendship, and now that was 2 years ago, and now this fella is still in community, and we are still in contact, and it's beautiful, just it's make me feel good because first time in my life I received some big response. Not first time, but okay, I received, yes, first time I received some big responsibility, 3 years ago nobody cared about me, everybody was, no, that fella, no, better, no, we go. Now someone gave me this responsibility, to take care about another lad, and just, it's unbelievable what's going on here in community, even now we have COVID, but it doesn't bothered me, this COVID, because okay, it's hard, but I know there is a God, and he's looking after me and my brothers and my family, and yeah, that's it. Thank you for listening, and thank you.
You.
Now prayer. Okay, the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses. We forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit.
Let
As in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That was a wonderful, wonderful testimony from the heart. And it was wonderful to see that you had grown so much in God's love in such a short time. Thank you, Roman. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I now would like to hand over to Martin, who is going to do a testimony. We'll have to try and find him to spotlight him. You want to put your hand up, Martin? Whatever you are. Oh,
Hello. Hello.
Hi. Hello. Would you like to give your testimony now, please?
Yeah, that's fine. Can everyone hear me okay? Is that the sound okay?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Well, hi everyone. First of all, thanks to everyone. Thanks to Anne for organising this meeting. I feel very privileged to come on and say a few things about my testimony. My name's Martin. I live in Luton in England. I spent 2 years in the community. I spent 1 year in Italy, and I spent 1 year in the English house in Kendal. I've been home now 1.5 years after leaving the community. So I'm just going to give you a little testimony about, before I got there, how I got there, and what happened to me after. So just to start off, I come from quite a big Irish family. My family was immigrants from Ireland that come over to England back in the 60s. I have my dad had 11 brothers and 1 sister. They all come over to England, and it was quite a tough life for them. And I think that reflected on me in my growing up. I had quite a tough upbringing. There was quite a lot of violence around in my house, and I grew up with surrounded by a lot of anger from my father. My mum was an alcoholic, and I think from a young age I sort of grew up with a lot of insecurities, a lot of wounds, and I think from an early age I discovered how to escape how I really felt, and how to go off and do different things to make me feel better. Going into my school years, I got into quite a lot of trouble. My mum and dad got divorced when I was 10 years old, and my father left, and it had quite a big impact on me. I feel I started to get into a lot of trouble at school. I got expelled. I was always, in trouble with the teachers and stuff like that. And then at the age of 11 or 12, I sort of got introduced to drugs. And to be honest, when I first sort of experienced the feelings from drugs and alcohol, it made me feel very comfortable. I found it a very easy way to escape how I truly felt. And it become a problem very quickly. From the age of 11, I continued to use all sorts of drugs, and I quickly sort of escalated up the ladder from just starting off with alcohol and smoking cannabis, and it sort of escalated quite quickly. I sort of balanced though throughout my life. I feel like I was one of these people who got away with a lot of things, because I had family around me, I had friends around me, and I seemed to sort of go through life and sort of scrape through. I always worked. I always had like a good relationships with people. Throughout my using and all the days living in darkness, I managed to, I got married, I had children, I had a normal life. But for me, it never seemed enough. I always used to go up, and then in the end, I would always fall down. And then I suppose slowly but surely, that just seemed to get worse and worse as I got older. The downs sort of outweighed the highs, and I started to get into a lot more trouble. And as Roman was saying in his testimony, the effect on the family, I started to burn my bridges with all my family, and I started to steal and, do a lot of bad things. So, I mean, it got to the point where in my later life, I tried all sorts of things. I tried spiritual programs, I tried rehabs, I tried 12-step programs, and, nothing really worked for me. And it was unfortunate because, I had a beautiful wife. I had a lovely daughter who is now 9 years of age. I had a son who is now 20, and all these good things that I had in my life, it wasn't enough for me. I just couldn't live my life in a good way. So, when things really come to a halt after times in prison and attempted suicides and overdoses, it just come to the point where I really had to seek help. And I heard about the community Cenacolo just from a relative. I didn't even know much about it. I just heard about this Italian nun, um, and she was from Italy and she helped people with addictions. So I found out about the meetings in London and I attended those meetings. And yeah, I went for about 4 or 5 meetings, and then it was decided that I would enter the community. Um, so yeah, I had to leave my family behind, but I felt it was a sacrifice worth doing because I had nothing left to live for. I was broken in pieces. So yeah, when I first experienced the community, it wasn't what I expected. I was actually I was christened a Catholic, and I knew a bit about the faith, but I wasn't practicing, or I didn't pray, or I didn't believe. So when I first entered the community, I found it quite difficult at first because there was a lot of prayer and a lot of rules, and you know it was very strange. It wasn't like I was anything I was used to. But what I did feel from the experience of the community in the beginning was this sense of love and friendship from everyone else, and it was real. It wasn't like a lot of other friendships I've had in my life. I could feel it was a genuine friendship from the brothers that I was living with, and there was a lot of truth, and I found a lot of healing there. And I suppose this is when I started to change. Was the thing about the community? There's a lot of things you don't really understand, but it's like there's a lot of wisdom in the community. Things happen, and the way the program is, and everything else, the way it works, it just sort of has this effect. And going through my walk, I started to feel this. I started to feel a lot of comfort in the prayer, and in the friendship and in the work, and I started to overcome a lot of my insecurities, because there's one thing I realized about the community is it can show you your weaknesses and it can show you your strengths. It in the beginning, it really laid out bare for me, what a weak person I was, and how emotional I was, and how sensitive I was. And through the program of the community, these things started to change. I started to build up a bit more confidence to speak with others. And I suppose I started to forgive myself for all the things that I had done. I had a lot of wounds coming into the community regarding my family, things that I had done, with my wife and my kids. And, what I wasn't a good father, and I wasn't a good husband. And, I felt like I was a failure. So after I sort of overcome myself with these things in the community, I started to forgive myself what I had done in the past and what I'd done to other people. And slowly but surely, these wounds that I had inside, they started to heal, with the prayer and the friendship and everything else that the community teaches you. Um, yeah, it had a big impact on my life. And I've been left the community now a year and a half, and I sort of understand the community so much more since I'd left. I can see why there was these certain things that you had to do, or there was these rules that you had to follow. Sometimes when I was there, I didn't understand it. Why do you have to do this? Why do you have to do that? But I can sort of see now, these little things that happen to you while you're in there. Afterwards, I can see why Mother Elvira taught people how to do this and to do that. There was always a reasoning behind it. Like, as I said, the wisdom of the community was, it's taught me so much. It's had such an impact on my life. Um, so since leaving the community, I mean, you hear about divine providence in community. It's been such a big part of my life since leaving. I mean, Before I left the community, I didn't have a house, or we never had anywhere to live. We were staying at my wife's mother-in-law, my wife's mother's house. And when I come out of the community, all these things seem to just happen. You know, we're comfortable now with our own house. We have a mortgage. You know, we have our family. Our family is back together. You know, we're together living here with my daughter, with my wife, and my son, who's from a previous relationship, Callum. He's 20 years old now. Um, he is actually back in my life now. I'm actually working with him. I got him a job with me, so now I'm spending like 10 hours a day with my son. Whereas before, you know, I left him when he was 3 years of age. I didn't have a lot of contact with him. I was a terrible father, and now God has given me this providence to have, you know, my son back in my life. And it's something that I did pray for while I was in the community, you know, was to have this friendship back with my son, and to try and, you know, to try and build this relationship as a father and son. And you know, I was quite impatient when I first left, and I thought, why is none of this happening yet? You know, I've done my time in community, I'm out now. I just expected everyone to, you know, come running around me. But as we learn in community, it's in God's time these things happen. And you know, through the prayer and patience, I now have these things in my life. You know, every day now I'm with my son. Every day I'm sitting down, like I just had dinner with my wife and my daughter, and I can sit and I can look at my daughter and, you know, really appreciate and that I'm here with her as a parent and a dad. And it, you know, it's really fulfilling for me to be able to overcome, you know, what a bad parent and what a bad person I was. And today I can, you know, be proud of the person I am. And you know, we're so happy as a family. And I just realized, you know, how much that means to all of us. You know, I think a lot of us addicts grow up in broken families with these wounds. And you know, I didn't want to pass that on to my daughter or to my son. And a lot of that, I used to have a lot of feelings of guilt over that. You know, is this gonna, the same thing gonna happen to them what happened to me? And now I can sort of put that in the past, and you know, just really appreciate the life I have today. And you know, it is through faith, you know, because I could have walked out the community and, you know, everything they taught me, I could have put it down again, which does happen sometimes. But I just feel, you know, everything that's happened to me in my life is thanks to the community, and thanks to Jesus and to God. You know, what this chance I've been given. And you know, my life now is guided by the Holy Spirit. And you know, everything that I ever need is in my life at the moment. You know, my friendships and my family. You know, even today my dad is proud of me. And you know, I had a terrible relationship with my father growing up, but today I have forgiveness for him and he has forgiveness for me. And you know, all the situations around me are really well. You know, don't get me wrong, life isn't easy every day and temptations are always out there. But I think with the tools that you learn in the community, the wisdom that you learn, you know, it gives you sort of a something inside that heals, you know, where you don't have that desperation anymore. You know, you're fulfilled with something more than what was before. You know, there's a power at work here, and it's a very strong power that I have in my life now. But you know, it needs maintenance. You know, I do have to get up every day and pray, and I do have to be grateful. You know, I do have to attend mass and, you know, take the Holy Eucharist and things like that. It's, you know, it's all the stuff that I've been taught in the community I have to continue in my life. So yeah, I'll leave it there. And I just, you know, want to thank you to everyone for being here and for organising this. And God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank, thank you so much, Martin. That was a wonderful testimony. And it shows that with prayer and trusting in God, that He can sort your life out again. And thank you very much for that. Thank you so much. And I'm so glad that I have met you on Zoom. It's wonderful. And thank you so much for your testimony. Thank you. God bless you. I would like to pass it over now to Father Declan, who introduced the the next speaker.
And
Thank
just
you,
before
Father.
you start, I just want to say hello to Martin. I knew him when he was in community. I think I met you in Saluzzo at the Festa della Vita, Martin. So it's great to hear your testimony, and such a great witness. And you know, I think in to hear you know, I think looking at you, you know, and to hear you speaking about Jesus and about prayer and receiving the Eucharist, it's so inspiring, and it's great to see God, you know, still in your life and working, you know, and the faith you have. So, you know, it's just so inspiring. So thanks for
Thank
your testimony tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, God bless you and your family. The, so yeah, there's we have another speaker here at Enoch, and you know, we won't. He should be easy to understand because he has a Scottish accent. It's Edward. Edward's from Edinburgh, so I'll leave him.
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Edward. I'm 40-year-old. I'm from Edinburgh. Yeah, I'd like to thank Martin because it's good to hear his testimony. I just missed him coming into the Kendall house over a year ago now. Yeah, but it was nice to hear his testimony. Thank you for that. Yeah, I started taking drugs very young. I'll give you a brief time in my life. When my father passed away when I was 16, that's when he was a strong authority figure in the house. So when he had suddenly passed away, I kind of started heading downhill after that, taking a lot of drugs, a little bit of drugs before that, cannabis and whatnot. But after that, I started taking harder drugs and harder drugs. And this carried on for a long period of my life. I carried on working, and I carried on keeping myself okay work-wise, and I had a lot of worry to my family. My mother was trying to help me a lot of the times. So she got in touch with the Cenacolo community about 10 years ago now. I started going to a few meetings in Carfin there in Motherwell, just outside Motherwell. And then I started to go to a few meetings in Kendall, and I met Brian Ingleby. He was a good man. He kept encouraging me to come to the meetings and show me the house in Kendall and everything. But 10 years ago, I wasn't ready to go through it. It wasn't my time to change my life then. But Brian kept in touch with me. Yeah, he kept in touch over 10 years. Kept phoning my mother, checking up how I was doing. I was speaking to him every so often. And yeah, so in 2012, my mother was trying to find my help again. And she found a pilgrimage to Medjugorje. So I went on this pilgrimage with Father Lawrence and a good few other people. And it was a good experience for me. I wasn't too much into my faith. I was brought up Catholic, went to church every Monday. I served as an altar boy. And I didn't know much about Cenacolo or the Medjugorje, the visionaries or anything like that. But I went to get myself clean for the drugs. And there was one evening in Medjugorje, I was walking, we had just done the Stations of the Cross. And then it was a beautiful evening. I just decided to walk away from everyone and sit on the rocks and just enjoy the scenery, enjoy the evening for a little bit. And then I started thinking about my father again and his death, because I still hadn't come to terms to this. And I had a moment there. I just burst out of crying and just very emotional at that moment. And then I felt a sudden peace in my heart, and a sudden acceptance. And I believe, I got a grace from Mary there that just put peace in my heart, and I could accept the loss of my father so young and at such a pivotal point in my life. And when I was in Medjugorje, I was there to get clean off drugs, but I still had a suitcase full of drugs while I was there. And after that moment, I never bothered with them. And then I got back to Scotland, and this lasted for maybe about a week, 2 weeks. I wasn't bothered about the drugs at all. That experience was good for me. It kept me there. But I never kept going with the prayer. I never kept going to Mass. I never kept going with my faith. So slowly I returned to the drugs and tried to go back to the same lifestyle I'd been living all that time. And then, yeah, I ended up living with my friend. He was passing away from cancer, and we ended up doing a lot of drugs together. He was using a lot for pain relief. So I was carrying on. I was taking care of him the best as I could, working night shift, then helping him through the day, doing a lot of drugs at the same time. So then he passed away. Yeah, it was a big loss for me. He was a very good friend, and I ended up back at my mother's house. And then Brian Ingleby phoned me again to see if I was ready. And at this moment in my life, I felt lost. I felt I was ready for a change. I was ready for a proper change in my life to live a good life, to live a good experience life, and get away from the lifestyle I'd been living all this time. So when they phoned, they asked me to come down for working days. About a year and a half ago, the Christmas before last year, I entered into do working days, and then I thought to myself, because I was in that situation I was in, I was nothing to lose, so I was like, yes, okay, I'm ready to enter community now. This is my time, and I'm so happy and so glad he kept in touch with me. So I would like to thank him for that if he's there. In this past year in the community, the past year and a half that I've been in community now, I was in Kendal, and it was a wonderful time. It was just so much joy and so much songs and prayers and singing, and just I got a lot out of the experience. Yeah, just to think about that summer, it was like a really good introduction to the community. And now I've been in Ireland here for 6 months, helping other guys in Ireland, being guardian angel to other guys, and helping them get over their addiction. And it's been a really good year and a half, a really positive year and a half. And I found Mary again in my life, and I'm glad she's kept with me all these years and come back and let me build on my faith again. So thank you. It's been a good experience. Thank you. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women, and blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners, now and at the hour of our death. Amen. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen.